are gonna help Mama? Tell him. How am I supposed to do anything that I was supposed to do with this sweet baby in my lap? Yes, you are the sweet baby. We'll cuddle after Mom's done. Or now. Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me, my name is Court. This is Ozzy. She will be assisting today because she's very clingy and does not want to leave her mom's side. So we must respect the wishes of the dear child. And how can you say no? How can you say no? I can't. So please welcome our guest. This is Miss Ozzy May. She will be helping me discuss today's reading wrap up, or not. She's fed up. She's done. Today, we are discussing all 20 books that I read in the month of July. Yes, 20. Remember how in the beginning of the year I said, I'm going to slow down. I'm not going to read that much. I need to slow down on my reading and find quality over quantity. I'm a liar. That's really all that it is. We're going to discuss the statistics and all the books that I read in the month of July. So buckle up. Let's just get on with the show, shall we? I picked 7 books, as always, for my July TBR, and then I ended up reading 4 of them, which is the magic number for some reason. I feel like I always read 4 off of my TBR and don't get to the other 3. I don't know why. I'm not mad at this number. I just need to finish a TBR once this year. That's the goal. To finish a monthly TBR at least once this year. This was not the case. However, I did read 4. 1 was a DNF. We'll discuss that later. But I'm counting it because I read over 50% of it, so I'm counting it as completed because I did attempt. I read 20 total books this month, and out of those 20 books, the amount of pages I read was 7,720, which seems like a lot now that I look at it. My average rating for the month was a 3.7, which checks out because as I was doing calculations, I had a majority of 4 stars. That checks out because a lot of these were 4 stars and that's really close to 4 stars, so that makes sense. Average rating 3.7 makes sense. Out of 20 books, that's not too bad. Getting into the genres that I read quite a few different genres. I read 8 romance books, 5 thriller books, 2 dystopian, 1 horror, 1 dark academia, 2 literary fiction, and 1 cozy fantasy. So lots of variety there, which is always nice, and I needed some variety because I've been reading a lot of fantasy and romance and thriller, which is still like the majority of what I read, but I need some new stuff. You know. For formats, I read 8 physical books, which is a lot. That's so many. I don't know how I was flying through some of these books, but a few of the books I flew through. Literally flew through them. I didn't know how I was reading them so fast. We'll discuss it later, and I'll tell you which ones, but I felt like I was speed reading. I'm already a pretty quick reader. I don't know how I was like flying through these books. There was like 3 that I read in a matter of 24 hours physically. Don't ask me how. I was immersed. I read 1 book on my Kindle and the rest were audio. So 11 were audio, which is a lot of audiobooks, but like I've told you guys before, I sit at work in a desk, working at a desk all day, and I listen to audiobooks. That is how I get through my day at work. I love it. Wouldn't have it any other way, and I love listening to audiobooks. So 11 audiobooks, and audiobooks do count as reading. Do not fight me on that. You can go argue with somebody else. I did accomplish a few goals. Not many. I didn't read any of my 25 for 2025. I did read my 12 books from 12 friends, which I do every month. It just seems like routine now, but I did mark that off. I did get 4 books off of my beginning of the year physical TBR, so now we're up to 34 out of the 89 that I have goal-wise that I want to get off my beginning of the year physical TBR. I have a stack right here that's almost as tall as me of books to go over. The next year's beginning of the year TBR should be less, hopefully, but this is a lot of books, but 4 of them were on my beginning of the year TBR. And then I read 5 off of my summer TBR, which is a great number because that was the goal that we had put in July, was to read our summer TBR. More in August, hopefully. So now let's just jump into what you guys came here for. The books, the ratings, the reviews, the discussions, shall we? Drink first, hydrate. It seems like so long ago when I read this, but the first book I read in the month of July, I think I started it in June, finished it in July, was Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. Arguably my favorite book of the month. This book is something else. If you've read The Hunger Games and haven't read this book, I need you to pick it up immediately. This is Haymitch's Games. This is the 50th quarter quell. This is in Haymitch's point of view. We get to see how District 12 is during his time as a teenager and his time in the games and kind of a little bit what happens after the games. I absolutely loved everything about this book. This is a 5-star book. I don't think it would be anything else. This has now become my favorite book by Suzanne Collins over Catching Fire. Catching Fire was my favorite for the longest time, but I related so much to Haymitch and everything that he dealt with and how he took care of his family and how he felt about his family and just his personality as a human, how he never felt like he was the hero, but he still had to step up and be there and do something. When I think about this book, all I think about is pain, so it's really hard for me to talk about. If you want my full thoughts, my full reactions, I did do a reading vlog on this very early this month. Please go watch that if you want my full opinions. This book is just pain. I can't wait to watch the movie. When I finished this, all I wanted to do was reread it, but I couldn't go through the pain a second time. But my entire TikTok For You page is just Haymitch edits, and the movie is not even out yet, and I don't know how these people are editing Joseph Zada, the guy that's going to play Haymitch, into looking like Haymitch already, but it's killing me. My favorite book all month, and it's the first one I read of the month. We can only go down from here. No, I'm just kidding. So good. 5 stars. Please go read this if you haven't yet. Go read The Hunger Games if you haven't yet. If you've seen the movies and you're like, oh, I don't need to read them, read them. Read them. Okay, thanks. The next book I finished was Nightshade by Autumn Woods. I listened to this. This is a murder mystery set at a university, kind of, with a little bit of romance. This is going to be a duology, I believe. It leaves off on a cliffhanger. The second one is not out yet. Yeah. It's set at Sorrow Song University. We have our main character, Ophelia, whose, parents died. And she's trying to figure out what happened. She gets a scholarship to this university where she meets Alex, our main male character. And you kind of don't get his point of view right away, but when you do, this man is obsessed with her. Yeah, he's obsessed with her, and she kind of just hates him and thinks that he's ruining her life, and he ruined her life, and he has or knows what happened to her parents. There's a big mystery going on throughout the book. It leaves off rather bluntly. I need the next one immediately, and I just fell in love with this. The audiobook was very, very good. I absolutely ate it up. I would highly recommend if you're into kind of a dark academia-esque, but it's more thriller set at a university rather than dark academia. But it's also a little dark and perfect for the fall, to be honest. If you want to save this for the fall, it would be such an ambiance read. Please save this for the fall. But things start happening at the university, and her and Alex just get closer and closer, and you just find out that he's literally obsessed with her, and it's so good. And I can't wait to read the next one. I gave this 4 stars. The next one I read was on my summer TBR. It's The View from Lake Como. This is a literary fiction. Unfortunately, this was not for me. This follows, I don't even remember her name. Main character, Jess. She is from a small town in New Jersey, and something happens to one of her family members, and she just starts digging up from her past, I believe. Oh, she recently gets divorced. See, I don't even remember what happens because I just kind of put this story out of my mind. She gets divorced. It's all about her family and wanting her to do what's best for her, but also kind of being rude to her the whole time. And then she goes to Italy to kind of find herself and reconnect with her background and heritage. And I do believe her uncle dies in the beginning, and that's what kind of sets her off. And she just goes on this spiral, and it just wasn't for me. I gave it 2.5 stars. I was very confused. There's a lot of unanswered questions, and I did the audio. The narrator was very, very good, but there was just something about this that I didn't click with. It just felt very jumbled. It felt like it wanted to be more than a literary fiction, and then it just kind of got all jumbled, and it wasn't really for me. I didn't like our character. She never really stood up for herself. She just kind of kept running away from her problems. So 2.5 stars. Unfortunately, this one just wasn't for me. The next book I read was our horror book, which was Nowhere by Allison Goon. I gave this a 4 stars. I absolutely love this. I also listened to this one while at work. This follows our main character, Rachel. She's a police chief in this small town. You get her point of view, and I believe you get a few other people's point of view, if I'm not mistaken, but things start happening in this small town where people start disappearing, and then her own children get involved and weird things start happening. More children just keep going missing. She's the police chief, and you kind of get like the entire town's point of view almost, even though I feel like you can kind of sense their point of view. You don't necessarily directly get their point of view. It switches point of views very, very quickly. This was a horror debut. Oh my goodness. It was very good for a horror debut. Anyways, the children just keep going missing because there's this force in the forest that keeps calling them out to the forest. And one day everybody just goes to investigate and bad things start happening to this town. It leaves you off kind of with like a chilly, like, what the heck happened kind of thing. Highly recommend. For this being a horror debut, that is incredible. It says on the back, True Detective meets The Outsider. So if that seems like something you'd be interested in, this was such a fun horror read. I had such a good time with it. It was incredible on audio. The next book I read was Sounds Like Trouble. This is by Pamela Samuels Young and Dwayne Alexander Smith. So 2 authors. I have not read the first one, which is Sounds Like a Plan. I just kind of dove right into this one. I'm not sure if you need to read the first one. It didn't harm my reading experience in any way not reading the first one. I believe they're interconnected, but don't quote me on that. This is following our 2 main characters who just started working together as private investigators, and they are contacted by this mob boss to hold out this thing. They need to get a package, track it down, bring it to them, the whole 9 yards of this mafia entanglement that they have gotten themselves into. It's very short, it's very sweet. There's not a lot of romance. There's just a little tiny hint of romance in it. It's funny, it's fast-paced. It had me on the edge of my seat because it's kind of like the Knives Out type thrillers where you don't know what's going to happen and it's kind of witty. That's what this is. And I had such a good time with it. It's very short. The audio was incredible and I recommend. It was just a fun read. I gave it 4 stars. The next 4 books I read in our first episode of our summer TBR showdown, so go check that out if you want to see all of my thoughts on these 4 books right here. I had such a fun time doing the summer TBR showdown. I'm filming the next one right now as we speak. Not right now, but you get the hint. So I'm just going to rapid fire through these really quick because all of my thoughts and opinions are in that video, and it's a whole reading vlog on these 4 books. I had such a fun time letting the wheel choose for me. It picked a really fun set of books. The first book I read in that reading vlog was Dark Corners by Megan Golden. This is the same author as The Night Swim. It is like a true crime podcaster type thriller. I really, really enjoyed it. It is about this serial killer who's in jail for suspected murders and an influencer goes missing. Rachel Krull is now our main character, who's the true crime podcaster going down to Florida to investigate all of this and to see if we think that this murderer who's about to be let out of jail really committed the murders or not. It was really, really good. I gave it 3.5 stars. Then I read Heartless by Elsie Silver. I was really, really nervous to read this. This is the only book I read on my Kindle. I didn't like Flawless at all. I was very hesitant to go into this because I hated Flawless. However, I had such a good time with this. It was just a cute, fun cowboy romance. I really, really loved Kate. And I really loved Willa. It was such a cute romance book. I am nervous still for the rest because I'm not sure how I like this series yet. I've had one good one, one bad one, so we'll see how the rest of the series holds out, but I give this 4 stars. If you don't know what this is, they're just small town cowboy romances. The first one's Flawless. It's the Chestnut Spring series by Elsie Silver. Then I got A Not So Meet Cute pulled by Megan Quinn. This is the first Megan Quinn book that I've read that's not a Christmas time book, and this is the first in the Kane Brothers Interconnected series. This follows our main female character Lottie and our main male character Huxley, and she is looking for a billionaire husband and he is looking for a wife to kind of seal this deal that he has going on, because him and his brothers are in business together, but I'm not really sure why. This was so funny. It had me laughing out loud. This is one of the books that I flew through in under 24 hours, and it was just so funny. The things that they had to do to seal this fake engagement slash marriage was so funny. It was fast paced, enjoyable. I give it 4 stars. I can't wait to read the next one in this series. And the last one I read in that video is You Belong Here by Megan Miranda. This was an arc. It came out on July 29th. This is a thriller where our main female character, her daughter is going off to college, and she's going to the same college that her mother went to. However, when her mother was in this college, something terrible happened, and she's terrified for her daughter to go there and for the same things to happen to her daughter. And the second that she goes to drop her daughter off, the things from the past start coming back to the light. It was very good. It was fun. It was fast paced. I really enjoyed it. I also gave this 4 stars. It kept me on my toes. I just had a silly fun time with it. It wasn't my favorite thriller ever, but I had a good time with it. Next up, I listened to These Summer Storms by Sarah McLean. This is an inheritance game type book. It follows our main character Alice for most of the book. You also get 1 chapter each of her siblings' point of view. The audiobook is read by Julia Whalen, which if you know me, you know I love a Julia Whalen narration. Eat it up every time. This audiobook was so fun. This is kind of a mixture between Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid and like an Emily Henry type book. Not gonna lie. It was so fun. I had a really good time with it. I gave this a 4.5 stars. It was such a fun read. Basically, Alice has been estranged from her family for a long time, and then her dad dies. And so she's forced to go back to their island. They're like rich. Her dad is like a billionaire. And they're forced to do these tasks for a week to get their inheritance. And Alice's task is that she has to stay on this island with her family, who she's been estranged from for so long, and who hasn't talked to her, who hasn't asked her to come back. And all the while, there is this man who works for her dad there that is forced to make sure and oversee the family to see that they're doing the correct task and making sure they're staying on task. And he's obsessed with Alice. It was so good. Loved it, ate it up. This was so good. 4.5 stars. I loved every second of it. I couldn't stop listening to it. The next 2 books I'm going to talk about are my book club reads for the month. We picked 1 book for our book club, and then we picked 1 book to buddy read. Our book club pick for the month of July was The Compound by Aisling Rowley. I'm not sure how you say her name. But either way, this book has put me in the biggest reading slump that I have ever been in. Take that with what you will. But I gave this a 4 star when I finished reading it, and I just can't stop thinking about it, so it might be a 4.5. It's not a 5 star because the ending left me just speechless. I don't think it's a 5 star, but I just can't stop thinking about this book. This is Love Island meets Survivor meets Lord of the Flies meets Big Brother meets yeah, I don't know what else to say. Like, basically, all of these people wake up in this compound. We're following our main character, Lily. You don't get anybody else's point of view besides Lily's. Basically, it's just a game, like a reality TV show game. And they're not allowed to talk about the compound and that they've seen the show before. They're not allowed to talk about the outside, and they're not allowed to talk about their lives outside until they get down to the final 5. And then that's where things hit the fan and become crazy. I couldn't put this book down. This is another one that I read very quickly. I was flipping pages. The chapters are like so long, but I felt like so short. I couldn't stop reading this book. It was so good. I don't know what's in this book, but I'm hoping this author writes more like this because this was her debut and I absolutely ate it up. We had 2 great hits for our book club last month because the other book we read was Problematic Summer Romance. This was our buddy read, our optional read, if you will. They're always optional, but this was our secondary read that we read together. This was a 5-star book. I haven't liked any of Ali Hazelwood's recent releases. This is one of the best romance books I've ever read. I did read it in this reading vlog if you want to see my entire thoughts and me reading it, but this was such a fun book. It's 5 stars. We're following our main character Maya, who's going to her brother's destination wedding in Italy, and his best friend's going to be there, who she's had feelings for and a small back and forth relationship with. And then they didn't talk for a while. And he's older than her. And I'm pretty sure he's Irish. Yeah, yeah. And he's like super rich and super hot. Just read it. This is one of the best romance books I've read in a long time. I absolutely love it. My full thoughts are in that reading vlog, but this was so good. I absolutely ate it up. 5 stars. Literally so good. Super good for summer. Best romance. Absolutely hands down. One of the best. Then I picked up Cruel King by Rena Kent. I listened to this on audio very quickly. I just needed something fast and fun. And that's exactly what this is. This follows our main character Levi and our female main character Astrid. They both go to this royal elite school, and Levi has his sights set on Astrid, and she just really doesn't like him, and her dad tells her to stay away from him. It was fun, it was cute, it was sweet. I also believe that this is Brandon's parents, and I read God of Fury a few months ago, so it was really nice seeing them and their story, and it makes me really excited to dive deeper into the Rainiverse, and I absolutely had so much fun with this. I gave it 4 stars. The next few books I read, I was going to do a reading vlog where Instagram chooses my reads based on emojis. Here's the stories. However, the first one that I read for that reading vlog was Never the Roses by Jennifer K. Lambert. This is a fantasy book, and I kind of went into it blind. However, it follows our main character, who is a retired witch of some sort. She's like a dream walker. That's what she can do. In this book, she is dream walking and steals one of her enemies' library books, like from his personal library. And it starts a feud between them. It's supposed to be enemies to lovers. There was no enemies. He was like, I don't care, just let me help you. There was nothing really about the roses. As I could tell, I got 77% of the way through this book, and there was nothing that it promised. It was a cozy fantasy, and I just wasn't in the mood for it. Unfortunately, I wanted more out of this and just didn't get it, so it was a DNF for me. The other one in that poll was Dead of Summer by Jessa Maxwell, and I gave this 2 stars. This follows a private island, kind of like Nantucket. It's called Hadley Island off the coast of New England. And a few summers ago, this girl was 15 years ago, a girl went missing. They're back on the island, and things keep bubbling up about this girl, and you don't know what happens to her. However, things keep bubbling up, and then another girl goes missing. So things keep coming up, and it felt kind of like the Outer Banks, but everything that happened and the reasoning and the people in this book, I just didn't like any of it. It might be for you. Give it a try if you think you'd like this thriller. It just simply wasn't for me, and I guess what happened. So I gave it 2 stars. So it was already going downhill. That's why I decided not to continue that reading vlog. And then the next poll was this poll, and our winner was Burning Ivy, which was my 12 recs from 12 friends, and I'm between a 2.5 and a 3 for this book. I read it as an audiobook. It is not mafia like I thought. It is just a marriage of convenience, and he is a unaliver. He's kind of like a hitman, if you will, and he's obsessed with her, and she just needs to marry somebody to get her inheritance. This book is so long for no reason. The audio is like 18 hours almost or something, and there was just no reason for it to be that long, and I didn't really like it. I didn't not like it, but I was slumping, and I feel like it was maybe right book, wrong time, but I just didn't have a good time. I maybe will try the rest of the series at some other point, but it was just not for me at the time, and I didn't really like or was invested with our characters and what was happening with them. I just didn't seem to care. So I'm between a 2.5 and a 3 because it was a good book. It was fun. If you need something like this, like a fun dark romance, I would recommend it, but at the time it just wasn't for me. I might retry it and then try the series when I'm more in the mood for it. So with all that being said, I had a DNF, a 2 star, and a 2.5-ish 3 star, so I decided to cut that reading vlog. We aren't going to continue it. So you get my thoughts now, and maybe we'll try again in the future for that type of reading vlog or something of the sort. It was just going downhill because I think I'm in a reading slump. However, while trying to read those, I was also reading 2 very, very good books. This might also contribute to my reading slump because I absolutely adored these books. I read and annotated some books for my friend's birthday coming up. The first book I read was The Exorcism of Fairies by J.L. Vampa. This is a dark academia book set in the 1990s at a university where the plague is happening. It's also set in Dublin, Ireland, I believe, or right around Dublin, Ireland, and there's a plague going on. We have a post-grad student and a professor, and they are trying to figure out what is causing this plague. It's literally fairies. series. That's all I'm gonna leave you with. If you like Nocticadia, please read this book. It is so good. It's a dark academia dream of a book. I annotated it so much. It's got romance, it's got dark academia. It's just so fun. I had such a good time with it. I absolutely loved it. I think I gave it a 4 or 4.5. This was so fun. And now I need to read everything that this author has written, and it would be perfect for the fall. The other book I read was Wait For It by Mariana Zapata. I annotated so much of this book. This is a 5-star book. This is a romance between our main character, Diana, who is the guardian of her 2 nephews after something tragic happens to their parents, and the next door neighbor, Dallas Walker, who also just happens to be one of the boys' baseball coaches. Yeah. It's very slow burn. They don't get together until like right around here. A typical Mariana Zapata book. However, this was so good. The tension, the way Dallas is with not only Diana, but also the kids. So good. I loved this book. I didn't want to stop reading it. I can understand why this is a lot of people's favorite Mariana Zapata book. I've only read 2, but this is now my favorite. I absolutely loved it. I loved Dallas. I loved everything about it. If you need just a wholesome romance, slow burn, please read this. It was so good. I had such a good time. The way Diana was so strong for the boys, and the way that Dallas was so gentle, and their mix, perfection. 5 stars. And lastly, I'm going to talk about the 2 books that I do not own physical copies of that we haven't mentioned yet. The first is You Deserve to Know. This is a kind of drama-filled thriller about a little like cul-de-sac street that revolves around like these 3 families. One of the husbands gets murdered like right off the bat, and then things just start to spiral from there, and you find out the secrets of these families and what's happening with them and their significant other and this little town, but it's really just on this street. It was very interesting. I had no clue where it was going. I had such a good time listening to this book. I absolutely recommend this if you're in a thriller mood. The audio was spectacular. I ended up giving this 4 stars. I had such a good time with it. More drama filled than thriller, but the ending was crazy. And the last book is another thriller. She Didn't See It Coming. This, I think I gave 3 or 3.5 stars. A woman goes missing from her apartment, and things just kind of spiral from there. The police start investigating the entire apartment, and you start to learn kind of everything about the people around her and the people in this apartment, and just things go nuts. This was very, very fast paced. This kept my attention and I didn't want to stop listening to it. Unfortunately, around the 50 to 60% mark, I figured out what was going on. So that kind of knocked it down for me a little bit, but I still had a really good time with it. And I recommend it if you want a good thriller because it's very fast paced and very interesting and held my attention, and the audio was done very well. Am I gonna try to pick up all these books? Should I try? Let's see if I can. You saw that right, because I'm not doing it again. Anyways, this is the 20 books I read in the month of July. Comment down below what your favorite read in the month of July was. If you want to find me anywhere else on social media, all my links are in the description, especially if you want to participate in the next Instagram Chooses My Reads poll. Make sure to follow me in the description. My Instagram, my TikTok, everything is down there. Also, be sure to like and subscribe. It does help me out so much, and I'll hopefully see you guys in my next video real soon. Bye, guys.